2 months back, I was at a sustainability summit making a presentation to about 100 senior professionals. I started my presentation by sharing an anecdote about my father, a dental surgeon who would often provide free treatment to patients who could not afford it, and how his generosity not just earned him a lot of gratitude, but an amazing level of affection and admiration. As I started narrating, I saw the audience falling into rapt attention. And when I finished the 2 minute anecdote, something I had never ever imagined happened. The audience broke into a spontaneous applause. Later, to my delight, people opened up to me, and I was successful in doing some networking and securing business leads. The true that my presentation was powerful, but that wasn't the only reason for my success. It was also the way I delivered it that made all the difference. And from here, it moved on into a very, very good way. The thing is, it wasn't always so for me. I clearly remember the times when speaking up, even if it was for a small internal meeting, it was a monumental task. Every time I had to speak up, either my voice would just vanish into thin air, or I would blurt out something which did not make any impact. This inability to not speak impactfully and impress people resulted in countless embarrassing moments, painful experiences, and lost opportunities. And then one day, I had an epiphany. I realized if I am unable to communicate effectively, express myself, and share my thoughts with others, I could never become a leader. I could never become someone who could influence important decisions, someone who could command respect. And therefore, I invested in learning and sharpening my communication skills. And oh my God, I started climbing up the career ladder faster than I could ever imagine. My journey from being a rookie manager in an Indian corporate to becoming the managing director of a corporate communication agency was shaped by three key elements of good communication. These three elements, which transformed my career, are captured in my book and the 5S framework of career advancement. Today, I am here to briefly share the three key elements with you. First, let's talk about the art of speaking. All of us, everyone, is blessed with an incredible instrument, our vocal cords. But how you play this instrument is what determines whether your message will hit the mark or fall flat. Your voice has the power to influence people, to resolve conflicts, motivate a team or close deal, or just about anything, but only if you know how to use its five attributes. The first is pace. So speed up when it's not so critical and slow down to make an important point. The second is volume. Go strong on volume when you need confidence and authority, and soften your voice when you want to underscore a point. The third is pitch. The highs and the lows in your voice. When you're sad, your voice naturally drops down as if being pulled down by a weight. But excitement, that sends your pitch soaring up. And when you are bored, well, your pitch is flat and monotonous, and this is when people tune out. The fourth is tonality, the emotion in your voice. This is what makes people not just hear the words you say, but also feel them. And we have six core emotions in us: happiness, sadness, surprise, anger, disgust, and fear. And you know what? Your voice is capable of expressing every single one of them. And not just that, every emotion also has its own facial expression. Sample this. Oh no, what if something terrible happens now? Ew, that's so disgusting. Really? Wow, I didn't see this coming. Why did this happen? It hurts so much. How could you do this to me? It's unacceptable. And I'm so glad to be here with you today. And this brings me to the fifth and final attribute, the pause. Not saying anything, yet saying it all. A pause brings in several advantages. Pause, and suddenly, instantly, you eliminate those awkward ums and ahs in your voice. Pause, and suddenly the last point you make carries more weight. And pause, and you create space for your audience to absorb the ideas you have shared. So, when you are able to use these five attributes effectively, the rest of you comes alive as well. Your facial expressions light up, your body language flows naturally, and your hand gestures, they just kick into action. And your message suddenly doesn't just land, it hits home. And you know what? Hand gestures are something you don't even need to learn. They are wired into us. Have you ever seen a child throw up hands up in the air after winning? Or have you watched an athlete cross the finish line, hands in the air, chin out raised? We all have seen that. But did you know those who are blind from birth, they also do the exact same thing, even though they have never seen anybody celebrate wins like this? Why? Because it's instinct. It's part of our hardwiring, our paleo circuit. So when you speak, bringing in together your voice, your facial expressions, and your hand gestures, you don't just speak, you lead, you influence, and you leave a mark. That brings me to the next point and the more important aspect of communication, the art of listening, which, according to me, is the unsung hero of communication. Now, listening is difficult. You see, the mind can process words much faster than anybody can speak, which means that when they are talking, your mind gets busy in parallel conversations. So you're hearing the words, but are you really listening? Hearing is very easy. It's passive. That's what your ears do. But listening, it's active. It uses your ears, your eyes, your mind, and your heart to make you fully present in the moment. And when you do that, that is real listening. In day to day life, you will observe three kinds of listening. The first usually happens at workplaces. So somebody is talking, and instead of listening, fully mindfully listening, your mind slips into an autopilot mode, thinking what to respond, trying to read between the lines. This is autopilot listening. It's shallow, transactional, and blocks real connection. Then there is airplane listening. This happens when you are present physically, but mentally you are elsewhere, scrolling, texting, or maybe just daydreaming. It's like ignoring the flight crew's safety demo because you already know it. To understand the third kind of listening, imagine being mid-air in a flight when the captain's voice fills the cabin announcing an emergency landing. At that moment, everything takes a back seat. As you hang on to every spoken word, you sense the emotion beneath the voice and you read the body language to assess the situation. This is emergency listening or active listening, where you engage all your senses. And this level of listening, it's very engaging, and it tells the other person, hey, What you're saying matters to me. What you feel matters to me. It's a superpower. The third element of communication that I learned was the art of engaging. Now, I had mastered the art of speaking. I had honed the skill of active listening, but then came the bigger problem. How do I inspire people not just to listen, but to engage deeply, connect meaningfully, and walk away holding on to the key messages? The simple answer to this complex question I found was to tell stories. Yes, tell stories. Why? Because stories have the power to shape how we think, feel, and act. You see, from the time human beings learn to speak, we're sitting around fires telling and listening to stories. In fact, stories are the primary language of our brain. And do you know, when you listen to a story, like a real heartfelt story, something incredible happens in your brains. Professor Yuri Hassan at Princeton University conducted a study using brain scans to explore how storytelling affects us. So he had a group of people sit down together, everyone doing their own thing, while he monitored their brain activities. At first, he observed random patterns in the brain waves of everyone, and then someone started telling a story, and suddenly everyone's brain waves started to sync up as if they were dancing to the same tunes. And not just that, as the storyteller spoke, the part of their brains related to language and emotions lit up. And astonishingly, the exact same parts lit up in the listener's brains too. And you know what? This connection, it does not happen with random sounds or unfamiliar languages. It's only stories in familiar languages that create this powerful connection. Fascinating, isn't it? Hassan calls it brain to brain coupling. I call it magic because it tells us, shows us how powerful storytelling really is. It connects us not just emotionally, but neurologically as well. But the science doesn't end here. Stories also trigger the release of feel good hormones such as oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins. They make you empathize with the speaker and you get influenced and inspired. And that's why you remember a story long after the story ends. Now, are you wondering how to craft stories that inspire and engage? In my experience, the magic of storytelling lies in the details you give, the color and the flavor that you add, describing the scenes you saw, the sounds you heard, and the emotions you felt. That is what creates magic. But here's the thing, stories in a business context aren't just for entertainment, they are a tool. So tell your stories by all means, but always bring it back to the point you want to make. Your big idea, your purpose, your what's in it for the audience. So, whatever your storytelling objective may be, whether it is to resolve conflicts or to say a heartfelt conversation with someone, it's the combination of the art of speaking, listening, and engaging that makes you an extraordinary communicator. And the absolute best part, this is a skill anyone can learn. So master all three and watch the world around you transform. Thank you.